Hello and welcome to the Witch Source. I'm Whitney and I am super excited today, you guys. I have with me Louis Garou, and he is a pagan musician and a witch. And he has some really incredible music that tells a very fascinating and magical story. Most of them have um, just some really cool things that go on. I highly recommend that you guys check him out. But I get to interview him today, so that's exciting. And so, welcome, Louis.
Hello, Whitney.
Thank you for being with me here today. I'm happy to get to do this. Um, all right, so we're going to jump right on in. How, when, where, what led you to become a witch?
Well, there's several things and a couple of stories that merge. I'll get this over with quick. I tell this story all the time, and this is a common story I found among pagan people. When I tell it in a workshop or something, there are other people who have been through this. When I was 14 years old, that I went to a Baptist church all my life. That's where I started. I was asked not to come back to the church. Apparently, I had too many questions and I read too much of the Bible, and it was a problem. And my mother cried, my grandmother cried, and they begged me to apologize to the preacher because they were sure he'd take me back. The following year, he got caught. He ran off with one of the parishioner ladies, so it all worked out good for him. But
Wow.
anyway, so I was already starting to play music at that time, and loved music. I've always loved music. But I also was looking for something that I knew there was a void in my life. And it just seemed to come to me to start doing what I was doing. And this was completely intuition because when I was when I was a teenager, finding books about magic and about witchcraft was not really an easy thing to do. The
Uh,
the resources were not there, and if they were there, they were hid.
right.
So my practice started just basically through intuition and what I thought I should be doing, some of which I still do, some of which I laugh about, but it worked. And the things that I did at that time came to fruition. And I learned at that time
Mm,
that words have power. When we speak words, we're doing spells. And it doesn't
yes.
matter whether you're ordering something from fast food or whether you're at midnight trying to conjure something up. All words have power. And depending on how much intent you have and how you have learned to coexist with the energy around us is how much influence you can have on things. Um, there's
Mm,
a there's a part of, and I'm not very educated, so if I stumble over this, please excuse me. But in quantum physics, we've come to discover that the things I was taught in high school are wrong. When I was growing
mm,
up, we were taught that there was matter and there was energy. Well, now we find out
mhm.
that matter is made out of energy, so everything is energy, which means that
Right.
we're connected to everything on a molecular level, even on a smaller level, out on a quantum level. And that if things affect us, the old as above, so below thing, if things can affect us, we can affect other things. That has been
Yeah.
my feelings about it, my theory about it since I was young. And I learned that I could write spells because I write songs, I could make them rhyme. Yay. But
Right.
that
Yeah.
I could write spells and that most of the time they were successful. And I was just very happy with myself at that time. And then I found a book, and
Okay.
I'm not going to tell what the book is because if I do, there will be people clutching at their pearls saying, "Oh no, he read a book about Satan." But the truth is that like most things, if you look at them, even things that are bad and false and crap. You can find truths in it. And it's the same
Mm.
thing with all religions. There's truth in all religions. There's falsehood in all religions, and
Mm.
that includes the things in paganism. We have to realize that the world that we live in, it's great. We have the power of the gods and the goddesses, but they're inside of us. They're not wandering around out here, floating around in space or inhabiting a cave somewhere. They're inside us. And so
Yes.
we
Yes.
use the names of these ancient gods and goddesses that people back then ascribed why the sun rose and why the wind blew. We still use those names to describe certain forces of nature and certain forces and things, but they don't exist physically. And I've got
Right.
people who argue with me. I saw a green man. Well, that was that brown acid that you took back at the 60s. I'm good. But that's the way I look at it. I'm cynical. I'm a realist, and I know what works for me and what doesn't work. And I've been doing it for over 50 years now, so I've got kind of a grip on it. I started playing music in bars about the same time that I started uh, practicing witchcraft, and the music never jived back in those days. I did not see a connection between music and magic at that time because to me, music was just it's something that I loved and something that put money in my pocket. I was a young man
Right.
playing in bars, making money. I was happy with myself. I had hit on something that I could have an influence on the world, on things that I was interested in, and I was just beside myself. Now, of course, I grew up and I continued to play music and I continued to practice magic, although I always kept it quiet up until about 10 years ago because I live in the South and that's not the kind of thing that's really acceptable in the South. And nowadays, it's not such a big deal up until the past few years because now, after after every gain that we've made, we're back to the place where gay people feel like that they have to hide, and that's wrong.
Mm.
That is wrong. We've got Roe versus Wade has been done away with, and that's so wrong. And it's all because people, these higher ups, want power and they want control, and this is how they do it. And they divide us by doing things like this, and by saying, "Look over here, look." These people are coming in from another country and they're taking your jobs. They're not taking anybody's jobs. They were jobs that Americans wouldn't do. And what are we
Mm.
doing? Oh, you can't come here, so the jobs are not getting done. It's insane what's going on in the world. And unfortunately, one person can't change the whole world. But if you take 1,000 people who are working on the same thing, or 10,000 people, or 500,000 people, and there are that many pagans that are out there, we can
Yes.
have some influence. And there's like, well, we should be able to do something because we can manipulate magic. Well, we can. Well, what you have to think about is all these old evangelical men and women out there who are also manipulating magic when they pray. And let me tell you what, they're serious about what they're doing. And we
Yes.
need to be
Yes.
just as serious and not be petty and trivial and fighting with each other because, well, you're not doing this right. Everybody does it their own way. And
Yes.
I'm on one of my long-winded rants here. So you asked
That's
me
all
how I
right.
got into magic and music, so there you have it.
Okay. Yeah, good, good. Okay. So, what type of music were you originally playing?
Oh, terrible, terrible music. Um, when I started playing at my house, we had both kinds of music playing all the time. We had country and western,
Mm.
and I was greatly influenced as a young man by Hank Williams Sr. and Johnny Cash. And of course, Hank Williams Sr. died, and people look back and say, "Oh, he was a hillbilly. He was look at him. He's inbred. He's starving to death." The man was a lyrical genius for what he was doing at that time. he made country music into the art form that it became, and
Yeah.
his influence still lives in there. But
Mhm.
he didn't affect me as much as Johnny Cash, because Johnny Cash was real and he stood for things. He wasn't up there singing about getting drunk and going home with somebody. He was singing about people's rights. He sang about American Indians' rights. He sang about black rights. He sang about everybody's rights, and he stood up for it.
Right.
And so that he has been my personal hero my entire life, and I was devastated when he died.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
that
I
didn't.
think a lot of people were.
The thing is that about it's been less than 20 years ago, I started writing songs. I began to see a connection between my music and the magic, and it just naturally flowed together. And I started playing again, and I looked up and got a gig, and from that one gig, it was just like overnight. It's like, hey, you want to come over here and play? We'll pay you. Well, you hit on the two things that interest me. I get to play music, and you're going to pay me. And
Right.
you know, I'm a mercenary. If you pay me, I'll show up and play. There's certain groups I won't play for, but in the pagan world, it's have guitar will travel if you've got the money. And
Right.
so I'm being brutally honest. There are a lot of musicians out there that wouldn't tell you that. They tell, "Oh, I do it because I love music so much." You can't do this and not make money. If you're not making money, you're just going further and further in the hole, because it costs a lot to travel and play these days. It costs a huge amount for hotels and for gas and just wear and tear on this old body. I'm not getting any
Right.
younger. Now I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to continue to travel and to play. And
Well, I
that's
think
you know.
you're definitely right. I think you are pursuing your passion and you're using your talents, and I do think you should be compensated for that. Absolutely. And I understand, like, yes, part of it is about the music, and I understand people that if they want to go set up and do and not get paid, that's great. But I think as an artist, you absolutely deserve to get paid for what you do.
Well,
Um,
we all do.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's
And
some people I think have problems with that, especially in just the pagan world in general. If you're using your gifts, some people think that you shouldn't be compensated for that, and I just don't agree with that, because if you want to have access to somebody and access to their talent, then yeah, you're paying for their time and their energy that they're putting out. So it's really an energetic exchange, I believe.
the
So,
thousands of hours of practice and the thousands of dollars worth of equipment we have to have, and keeping a
mhm.
vehicle running. It's a huge thing. But I love, more than anything in the world, I love getting up in front of a crowd and playing music. Man,
Mm.
that's worth more than the money. But that's something that has been with me since I was 14 years old. The first time I walked up and got on a stage with a guitar in my hand, I knew like 5 songs at that time. And
Okay.
I was just so thrilled to get up in front of those people and play. And I've loved music ever since. As a matter of fact, it cost me a marriage.
Oh
You want to hear
wow.
that story? It's quick.
Sure, sure.
I had I've had more than one wife, but the last wife, and she absolutely is the last wife, confronted me one day, and she said, "You've got to stop." She said, "I want to know right now, what's more
Mhm.
important to you, music or our marriage?" And I didn't even give her time to take a breath. I said, "Music." And that was the end of it right there.
Yeah, yeah. I think anytime somebody's going to put you in a situation that you have to choose, they're already losing.
That's it. I mean, she already knew the answer to the question, but she had to
Right,
hear it. And
right.
so that was that. And after that, I got out. I moved into another cabin on the farm, and then I moved to Arkansas. I've lived in Appalachia my entire life up until the last 3 or 4 years, and I moved out here.
Okay.
And
What was it like growing up in Appalachia?
I I grew up on a farm. We took care of the farm. We took care of my grandfather's farm along with my grandfather, and that was my life. Going to school, doing that, and then when I hit 14 and I could make money making music, I started doing that, and I've worked my whole life. I was a farmer for many years, and the doctors told me I had to quit, and that was about the time that question got asked of my ex-wife or from my
Oh
ex-wife.
wow.
And
Right.
I had been coming to Arkansas, and I had met a lot of people out here that appreciated my music. I was, it's like I came out here and people already knew my music, and it was huge to me to go to a place I'd never been, where there were people I'd never met, and I got up in front of the crowd. It was a rainy day, and they had moved everything inside. And I got up in front of the crowd, and I started playing, and there were people that were singing my words right along with me. People
Wow.
that they knew the words, which is kind of funny because I'm to the point in my life now I can't sing my songs without having the words because I can't remember what they are. I can't even remember the titles of the songs most of the time. And so
Right.
it's a challenge for me to do that, but it was such an immense feeling that day to be there and have these people that I don't know, and they're just singing along like they knew the songs, and I was very filled with myself that day. I have to tell you, so puffed up, but it it, it,
Yeah.
it it's a cool
I'm
thing to have it happen, and I love to write. Most of the stuff that I write, it's done at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because I wake up and there's something in my mind. I've had a dream and I scribble furiously,
mm,
and the next day I can read about half of it. But it always works out, and that's 90% of my music comes from dreams. And
oh wow, okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask what some of your inspirations were for the songs that you write. So are you saying do all of them come from dreams or do you have some other influences as
almost
well?
almost all of them come from dreams. Now I had one song. I'll make this quick. This was back when I had moved into the old cabin. I had no furniture. There was a chair in the cabin. There was a wood stove. It was cold. I built a fire, sat down in that chair, and went to sleep. And when I woke up, my notebook was open on my lap, and there was a song in it, one of my favorite songs called "Just My Other Side." And
Okay.
it was in my handwriting, so obviously I wrote it. But the voices that live in my head apparently were busy that
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. That's
night.
awesome.
It's just magic.
So so who, if you don't mind me asking, like what was the turning point where you decided to blend the magic and the music? Was there like a certain thing that stood out in your mind that made that
No,
switch?
it just happened, and it's been a while, so I can't really give you a time when that happened. It's just that suddenly I went from playing the stuff that I had been playing, and of course I was writing crappy old uh country songs. I still write some country songs, but I don't consider them crappy anymore because they have things going on in them that it's not like I lost my dog and my truck and my wife all in one day. It's not like that. There are a
Right.
lot of there are a lot of meaningful things in the world. There's a lot of things that we can address, and those are what I try to write about. Now,
Mm.
that's trying to write, and the majority of those songs end up in a box. I don't throw anything away, and I can't tell you how many songs. And sometimes I just go back through and I just page through looking at stuff, and something reaches out and grabs me, and I pull it out and use it. But that's very infrequently done. Now I'm working on a project now called the Red Album. I believe you're familiar with that. And
Mhm.
it's a song. it's an album of 19 individuals and groups that have gotten together to make an album to raise money for reproductive rights. And the name of it is the Red Album, Pagan Voices for Reproductive Rights. And I'm very proud to be part of this. I almost wasn't, because when it was first brought up to do it, it's like everybody's like, okay, I'll write a song and record it. And I just, for days and days, I just sat drawing a blank. I'd write something and say, no, that's not going to do. And I got in touch with him and I said, I can't come up with anything. I'm lost for words. So I dropped out of the project for about a month. And one night I woke up and there it was. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. So the next morning I got up and I turned on the recorder and I recorded how I thought it should sound. And I sent the words off to a couple of the people who were involved in the project. They said, we got to have that song. So they let me back in, and that song fortunately did come to me. And I'm very proud of it. It's called Nothing Holy But the Blood. And it's just a story of, we see the term every man all the time, but this is a term I'm going to use, is every woman. Every woman goes through these things. And this is about a young girl who her life gets turned upside down. She ends up pregnant. Her family will not have anything to do with her. Very familiar story. And she sees what life is going to be like for her and her child. And it's a very sad song. And I'm very proud of it. But there are many other artists on that album that have got just tremendous songs. And again, the Red Album will be released either the 21st or the 22nd at PSG. Do you know what PSG is?
No, please share with us.
Pagan Spirit Gathering. It's one of the biggest gatherings that we have in the eastern United States. And back before COVID, it wasn't uncommon for them to have a couple of thousand people. But it's
wow,
a lot of music going on, and this year is going to have even more because we have people coming in because we are releasing the Red Album from PSG, and that'll be the first sale place there. Now, if people are interested in that, they can go to Bandcamp and just look up the Red Album on Bandcamp, and you'll be able to pre-order it. And
I'll be sure to add the links to everything with this video recording.
It's a very worthwhile project. Again, there are two beneficiaries that are getting all the money. One is an organization that provides information and help to women in need. And the other is an aerial service that helps women fly from unfriendly red states to friendly blue states for, a couple of days but I think they try to keep their profile a little bit low because they don't want the law looking at them in those states. Again, very, very proud to be affiliated with this project. I wish I were a better spokesperson. I'm not very eloquent and I stumble over words, but it is a worthwhile project, and I recommend to anyone who's interested in this to check this out. The money 100% goes to the beneficiaries. None of the artists, none of the producers, nobody's getting any money. Nobody's keeping anything. It all goes to the beneficiaries, which eventually ends up being women. So I have done my civic duty and told y'all about the Red Album.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. I think regardless of where somebody stands on that subject, I think women having access to information and support is vital, especially for
women.
these women that maybe feel alone or unsure, and maybe just having somewhere to go and somewhere to talk. They may change their minds. They may realize there's support for them out there, or they may decide to go through with it and do it alone. Uh, so I think, yeah, regardless of where, and I think it's valuable for that information to be out there, and really to support women in what they go through. Um,
Well,
I've been
the
fortunate. I
main,
haven't ever been in an experience like that. So, and I'm very blessed in that way. But I definitely hope that Goddess will use this and use the money to really help, and help women find it. Who need it.
well, I kept my mouth shut about it for a long time because I feel like it's women's business. It should be up to a woman to decide what happens with her health and her body. And I kept quiet about it for a long time, but now after getting involved in this, I see that one of the things that is needed is for men to stand up and point and say, this is wrong. These women should have the right to have their own bodily autonomy. I think I pronounced that correctly. And to be able to make these decisions, not a bunch of old white men in Washington. And I can say that because I'm an old white man. But that's where the problem is. The problem is in the government and trying to control women, trying to control life. And it's just wrong. There's no right to it, period. Women should have the right to make their own decisions. So I'm gonna shut up about
Okay. Tell me more about the gathering that you were talking about. Where is that held? If people are interested in
that. The
going
last
or learning more
last
about
year
it.
it had been moved to Missouri to it's close to Fort Leonard Wood because that's the only landmark I have there. And
Okay.
it's a Shriners camp. We enjoyed it very much last year. It's a beautiful site. There's huge amount of trees. You can go down the trails and go in and set your tents up and things like that. They've got places
Oh.
for people who have RVs, but they have a huge stage, and there's going to be people on it every night. Um, Pagan musicians that you've probably heard of, S.J. Tucker, um, Spiral Rhythms. Uh, my mind is just drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Uh,
No, it's okay. Will there also be vendors, people selling and things like that?
many, and they have a lot of skilled artisans there.
Nice.
You can get anything from homemade soap to magical accoutrements that you might need for your practice. And there are a lot of workshops, some highly informative workshops, for instance,
Oh, nice.
mine. But
Oh, okay.
now
What do you teach in your
I'm going to be
workshop?
talking about how I use music and magic
Oh,
and
okay.
get into the waves and how we can make ourselves feel better during the day. I reveal my little secrets about that.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I'm doing a class with my fellow performer, Krista Chapman Green, about magic and music and just how life works. She's doing most of it. And it's a very, very cool place. But there's
Well,
so many different things going on there. You can't possibly go to everything.
right, right. It sounds great. And I'll try to pull more information to add links so that people can check it out. If they can't go next this year, maybe they can make it next year.
They'd have to next year because registration closed a couple of days ago. It's
Oh,
in.
okay.
They always have it during summer solstice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
It's
close.
it's very warm there, but it's it's this huge bunch of very accepting people, and you've got old people, you've got people bringing their children. It's a cross section of pagan America, and
Right.
it's a hugely entertaining thing to do, and it's a huge learning experience.
Well, it sounds
So
great, and I think I would love to go next year if I'm able. Just to uh, check it all out and see what's going on. I mean, I just opened my own shop here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, so not
mhm.
too far from where you grew up. And yeah, I love seeing what other people are doing and giving people resources of knowing where to go and how to network and how to get out there and be seen. So I think that's great, and I love that they're doing workshops too. I think that's fantastic. Any
Well,
opportunity to learn is good. So
a pagan
yeah.
spirit gathering is put on by Circle Sanctuary. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They have a big place up in Wisconsin, but
Oh, okay.
it's Selena Fox is the person who
Yes.
runs it, and she and her Lady Liberty group are the people who pushed and got it to where American soldiers who are buried can have a pinnacle on their stone instead of a
The
cross or
cross.
Star of David.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of things over the years to make things better for pagan people, and that's the one thing that comes to my mind quickly is the Lady Liberty League and what they did, because before they did that, you just basically, if someone in your family was in the military and they died, it didn't matter what they believed, what you believe, slap a cross on it and you're done.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think how far paganism in general has come in this country, it's there's a lot of people who have worked, very hard to get us the freedoms and the liberties that we do have
Mhm.
as pagans and witches, and I think it's great, and I think people need to know about that and not just take it for granted, anymore, and really honor the people who have walked before them and really paved the way. I know I've mentioned that several times on my show before, but uh, I think it always bears repeating. And I highly encourage people to do your research. Learn how did we get to where we are today in this country where we don't necessarily have to be afraid to be a witch anymore. I know there's always going to be judgment, and there's always going to be people that don't feel safe or comfortable sharing, and I completely understand that. But the fact that we can have this podcast and I can have this store and do the things that we do, we're blessed to be able to do that. So,
Well,
um, giving credit where credit is due, absolutely. Um, so, you talk about blending the music and the magic. Do you feel like when you incorporate the music with the magic, do you start with, say, lyrics, or do you start with a tune in your mind?
I start always with lyrics.
Okay,
That's what I wake up to, and I write
right,
the lyrics, and the music will always come from there. And it's not a problem. I don't have any problem working the music yet. And my music is very simple, so I'm not writing symphonies. I'm emphasizing the words is basically what I'm doing. The the
right,
the guitar work and stuff, that's great. I'm a mediocre guitar player, and even if I were a great guitar player, it wouldn't matter. The words are what is important. And I
right.
think you said that you have the Wolf at the Door album. I don't have a copy of it here, but I believe it has a song on it called oh no, that may be on the second album. But I have a song called Magic All Around Us. Does it sound familiar to
Yes,
you?
yes, I did listen to that one. Yes.
That song, we do that. That's generally our closing song. Krista sings it, and it
Okay.
describes what I feel as far as magic goes. I was on the mountain back years ago, and I had built a fire in a spring that had been there so long that it was just kind of mossy and sunk into the ground. And I sat
Oh
there that
wow.
night with the wind blowing and the moon overhead, and those words came to me during the course of the night, and I wrote part of it down on a feed bag because I was on a horse, and that was all I
Oh,
had.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I came home, and as soon as I got home, I worked that all out, and I've been doing that song for years now, and that's one of my favorite songs. But that's the basis of my belief in magic from back then to now, is that magic, that energy that we call magic, is all around us. It's in us, it's around us, it's under our feet, it's over our head, it's everywhere. There's energy everywhere. And the way that we do magic, practice magic, however you want to put it, is how we can interface and manipulate that energy. Not just the energy that's in us, but that energy that is all around us. And that's what the song is
Right.
about. That's that's what I believe life is about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so perfectly said. And I know when I have incorporated music into my spell work, that
Mhm.
it does. It feels powerful. It feels different. It feels uh, alive. Like it's becoming
Exactly.
its own creation. And then
Exactly.
especially when I just let the music flow and I give into it, and then I can feel the rhythm. I can feel the movement, like its own heartbeat, and um, then I naturally just move and end up dancing along with it. And when I think when people leave space for that opportunity to happen and then succumb to it, really powerful results can be had. So I completely agree with you on that. I think it's a very powerful thing. So I highly, highly recommend anybody listening, if you've never tried to add the music to your magic, give it a try. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. So thank you for sharing that, definitely. And I really recommend people listen to your music. How would you describe your music?
I call it dark Americana.
Okay. All right.
It's
Can you break it down a
it's
little
very
more?
it's a kind of folk music, a combination of folk and some country is in the background. There's no country, the alternating bass, there's none of
Right.
that. But
Right.
it's my history, and I use it. Um, but the whole thing with the music is expressing yourself and expressing what you want to tell other people. Now, some people who are really excellent musicians can do that just with an instrument. I cannot. I write
Right.
things, and I try to communicate my ideas or stories. And a lot of my songs are stories, but they're on the dark side. Now, I say they're love songs, a little twisted, a little dark, but they're all love songs.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, I definitely hear like the folk music, and really there's a lot of magic that comes out of those mountains. I mean,
Yes,
there's I think several different groups that are, just thriving in the mountains, and I think it has a really big influence and impact. How do you feel that living there and living on the farm and being surrounded in nature in that way had an impact not only on your music but also on your spiritual path and your journey with magic?
I had a tremendous amount from the time I was just a young boy. As soon as my chores were done, I hit the woods. I was gone. And I never had I didn't have any guidance from my parents on that. It's like you got your work done, do whatever you want to do. And so I spent all my time back along the creeks and the rivers, and the mountains are right there. And working on the farm taught me the value of how to work, and that you can't be comfortable all the time, but that work, no matter what kind of work it is, work pays off. And I I can't fault my parents or my grandparents on anything that they did raising me. Anything that was done wrong, it was all on me. But they did a good job. And the being in nature and spending so much time in nature. I probably camped out myself the first time when I was, I don't know, sixth or seventh grade, back on the back of the farm. And I was just very happy to be there and to be able to be out in that natural place, to spend the time doing it. And I realize looking back now how fortunate I was, because there's so many million people that didn't have the opportunity to be out in nature. They were somewhere in a suburb or in a city or somewhere in a slum. I count my
Right.
blessings every morning. That's the first thing I do when I wake up or I get up out of bed. And it's the same things every morning. I'm blessed. I've got a roof over my head. I've got clean water to drink. I've got food, and I have a rudimentary education. And those are things that the majority of the world, the people in it, do not have. And I'm blessed
True.
because of it. And there's so many people that are blessed that way and more, that never give it a thought. They never, ever give it a thought of what they have going for them. And I
Right.
feel like that living like that gives me a certain amount of empathy toward people who don't have these things, and
Hmm.
who will never have. And it
I
saddens me and it pisses me off, because it doesn't have to be that way. It
right.
does not have to be that way. Our nation, not just our nation, but worldwide, spends so much money on military and on things that don't matter, and on, subsidizing big oil and big coal and big pharma, all this stuff. That some of that money, a lot of that money, could be going to make sure people aren't starving to death, that they have got decent schools, they've got a roof over their head. There's so many things that could be done that are not being done, and they're not going to be done. We don't
Right.
have, excuse me, taking the camera. We don't have the wherewithal to vote these people out. That's why we've got these 80-something-year-old white men running everything. And I can tell you from the way my mind works, we don't need those people to be in charge. So
I
I
think
swore I would get political.
I think from some of the interviews that I've done and some of the interviews that I've watched, um, that I think the biggest thing that we can do right now, um, is get out and volunteer. And I know there are, um, different pagan groups and
Mhm.
I don't know if you can call it a witch church, but that's what I'm going to call it, an organization that they do the soup kitchens. They do feed the poor. They give people a place where they can go to and get the support and the help that they need. And I think if more pagans were to and witches were to come together, um, with that common goal of how can we build and give back to the community that we're in, just starting there, um, it's a start. It's a start, and it lets people know that at the end of the day, like you said, we're all energy. We're all here together. We all interact. We all, in some form or fashion, do affect one another, even if it's just energetically. So we need to, and start getting rid of some of the fear that people have around pagans and witches, that we're, you know, uh, whatever they come up with, right? Um, and show them that that's not true. We're just living, trying to do our best, and a lot of us are just trying to help as many people as we can along the way. So I think if we could get back to that, and remember that we shouldn't just leave that stuff for other churches to do and then wonder why it's not getting done. you know, we need to be a part of it too. So I love the impact that you're having, and I love the stories that your music tells. Um, and I definitely hear the folk in there, and I also hear a little bit of country, and I hear it more so in your voice. I know I was listening to some of your music yesterday, and one particular song, I can't remember which one, but I was listening to it, and it reminded me of John Anderson, um, in your voice. That's the country singer that it reminded me of. He like instantly came to mind. I was like, sounds just like Johnny Anderson.
I'll take that as
Um,
a compliment.
yeah, it did. It took me right there, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can jive with this. I like it. So, and that was on some of the acoustic versions that you had. I enjoyed those.
Mhm.
So, can you share with us what magical experience you've had, or one, or however many you want to share, if any? What was the most, or one of the most magical experiences that you've had where, without a doubt, you knew magic worked and the god and goddess were real, and that you had that power within you, and that you could connect with that power that's also outside of you? Can you share with us one of your magical experiences that nobody could ever change your mind?
Actually, most of those experiences I can't share, but I have over the years just spent so much time being in awe of what we can do, and not just myself, but I know a lot of witches, few right around where you live in Asheville, and people who have power. And it's I I don't go with the thing that I've heard over the years is, well, everybody has the ability to know. Everybody does not. I believe that we all have the ability to manipulate energy to some extent. But I know for a fact that there are a couple of women over there that you do not want to ever anchor. And I know
Right.
men like it too. But now I've written a couple of songs about that kind of thing. But I my experiences with magic that I have used have not been something that I really want to talk about. My daily magic, the daily things that I do, that's just the way I get through the day. And the blessings of a morning that gets me started off. I'm going to have a good day because I know that I've already started off ahead of most of the people in the world as far as where I am. So I shouldn't feel bad if I've got a headache. There's somebody somewhere that's got something terrible wrong. If my
Right.
hand hurts, I don't need to go on Facebook and tell everybody, "Oh, look, my finger's got a boo boo on it." I
Right.
I don't need to do that because I am blessed, and I realize it. I also realize that most of the people that I come in contact with are blessed, whether they put any stock in it or not. And magic is a very personal thing with me. What I do and what I've done, some of it's good, some of it's been pretty bad. I've done some vain work, but it does work. It's real. You can talk to a few astrophysicists and such, and they'll tell you about quantum theory and string theory and stuff, and it all begins to make sense as much as I can understand it. Again, I'm not a very
Right.
educated man, so there are a lot of things I don't understand. But I know what I've got going for me. I've got a good life. I'm very happy these days, and I don't. There's nothing in my life right now that I would change,
Right.
and I feel like that's magic in itself.
It absolutely is. It really is, and that's a blessing because uh, I would say I feel that way as well. Like I am grateful for the life that I have, and where I'm at, um, who I'm with, and what I have, and I know I'm very blessed. So I agree with you, and that is a magic all in itself. And when you realize that you created and had a part in becoming where you are. It didn't happen by chance. It didn't happen necessarily by circumstance. I think the majority of witches really do work, and do a lot of work, and that's what gets us where we want to be. And then and other people can do it too. You just have to want it and be open, to experiencing. So, and I respect and completely understand not being able to share experiences. Some of those are very sacred and therefore very personal and kept quiet. So I do understand that. Are there any final thoughts or anything you'd like to share that maybe I haven't touched on today?
I have one final thought, and
Okay.
I'm guilty of not being able to do this all the time. A couple of decades ago, a friend of mine told me what he had learned, and he said, "This is." It sounds like it's the Mandalorian, but it's not. He said, "This is the way," and he said, "We have to do our work, we have to learn our lessons, and we have to love each other." And the first two they're not a problem for me. The third one, it's been a problem for some time. I have emotional issues, and I'm not a nice man. I've been mean, I've been nasty to people, and I feel bad about it. I do. I can't go back and change what I've done, and I'm an old man now, but what I can do is not be that man anymore. And I'm right now that's what I'm working on, is to try to be a kinder, more pleasant version of myself. And people who know me will tell you, yeah, he's an ass. Oh, geez, he's an ass. Because I am. And I have been for a long time, because I really didn't care what people thought about. But I finally realized that it doesn't matter what people think about me. It's how I'm treating other people. And
Right.
so that's where I am right now, is to try to better myself, to be kinder to people, to be nicer, to be civil. And it's a lot of work with me, I gotta tell you.
Well, I congratulate you on, acknowledging that. I think a lot of people have a hard time acknowledging where they can or need to grow and expand and learn and change. I do believe people can change if they want to, if they're
Absolutely.
willing to do the work to make it happen. So I've done a lot of that myself, especially over the past several years here recently. But I think when you're willing to do that kind of work, you're rewarded for it in some way. And I think it pays off in the end. Um, so kudos to you, and I hope you keep going. And I send you my support. I've had a pleasant time with you here today. I've enjoyed talking with you. And I know this is, I'm just going to throw this out here, and it may be random, but would you maybe be able to play a song for us today before we leave? Is that a possibility?
Well, since I was practicing before we started, I just happen to have my guitar here.
Oh,
And
okay.
if that's the case, I will sing you my song from the Red Album.
Oh,
If that's
perfect. Okay,
okay.
sure.
This is my guitar, Ashlyn. Ashlyn is from Celtic, meaning dream or vision.
Mm,
And
very
she
fitting.
spends most of her time when she's not in her case or on the road. She lays right there on the bed, because I never know when I'm gonna need her.
Right.
Anyway, this is from the Red Album. This is called Nothing Holy But the Blood, and it goes like this. When she was just a child, the world made her a little wild. Her family smiled, but they all pulled away. With no place left to go, cast out and on her own. She was fighting hard just to keep the wolves at bay. When troubles come, seems like a flood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. Now she's getting no rest. She just failed a pregnancy test. How's she gonna care for a little child? She can barely feed herself. There's no food left on the shelf. Her frustration makes her rage and scream and cry. When troubles come, seems like a flood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. Sitting crying, exhausted, broken little girl. The law says she's got to bring another unwanted child into this world. So she takes another drink. The pills are working. She starts to think about the cruelty as her life fades away. When troubles come, seems like a flood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood. There ain't nothing holy but the blood.
That was great. Thank you. Very powerful song. Yeah.
As I said, I'm proud to be involved in that project, the Red Album.
Yeah, and I really think that breaks it down for people that maybe don't understand. Um, that's a perfect song to get to people and help them to understand where some people are. So thank you for sharing that. I'm excited to get to see this album, and hopefully hear it. What you said, it's going to be on sale at the end of the month. Will it be on sale online or only at the festival?
You'll be able to buy it through Bandcamp. You'll be able to buy it through anyone who's on the album. If someone wants to order one through me, they can. But the simplest thing to do is to just go to the Red Album site and order. And there is just look up Red Album, you'll find it.
Okay. All right. I'll look it up and I'll add links.
Okay.
Well, Lewis, thank you so much for joining me today and talking with me and for sharing your song. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you'll be back. And just in case anybody doesn't know, Lewis is also a nominee for the IPMA Male Artist Award this year. So if you're interested and into it, go vote for him. So that's the International Pagan Music Association, their awards. You're a nominee this year. So congratulations on that. And I will add links to that below as well.
Okay.
If there's anything else you want to say?
I appreciate you having me on today. That's it.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining. And everybody, I hope that you will check out Lewis Garou. I'll put the links to Bandcamp on there where you can find him. And don't forget that you can like, follow, share this episode and more of the Witch Source. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you can reach out there and join, or go check out the shop. It's coming along. So the physical store is up and running. I've almost got it complete. So if you want to come in and stop in and say hi and look around, I'd appreciate it. And Lewis, maybe I can get a couple CDs from you, and I'll put them for sale here in the shop. That would be really cool.
We probably could work that out.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here. Until next time.
Thank you for having me again. You have a wonderful day.